Is the third screencast in the Perma-Ledger series. What I'm going to show today is how to add a plant asset and then how to attach a seeding to that with a date and time attached to it. So I'm going to try and explain what a plant asset is in Perma-Ledger, which is based on FarmOS, an open source which you can download, and I highly recommend it. And just a quick mention here, FarmOS is designed as it's an open source ledger for farms, and it's designed for a single farm, each install of it. But what I've done is tweaked it a little bit so we can use it for multiple farms here in the and growing areas here in the Eugene area. So I'm going to show now, having given that little bit of an overview, how to add a planting. And I just want to mention a thing about this. So a planting is it can be a start, or it could be seeds, or it could be even a transplant. It's basically a single plant type or seed type. And what I'm going to do is add an eggplant type to this today, an eggplant planting type. Now, what I mean by that is that we got Bitcoin popping up here. Thank you. So what I mean by that is that you only add a planting once. So we're going for a particular plant type, or I'm sure there's a better word for that. A particular plant. So in this case, I'm going to add eggplant Black Beauty. That's only going to be added once. When we get to the actual seedings, and this is a big difference. So eggplant Black Beauty will exist once in Perma-Ledger, but I can in actual fact attach multiple seedings to that one entry, which means that I can then use that type going forward, and all the information I've gathered for it for all the seedings. And the seedings can be well, seeding's a seeding, it's a germinating seed, but it could also be this could also be attached to transplanting, which will happen as we go through this year. It's currently the 3rd of March, by the way. So that being said, lots of preambles there. Let's add this. So this is where we go. We go to assets, this drop down here, and plantings. So now you can see here I've added quite a number of plantings down here, and I'm going to add this one more, which is the eggplant Black Beauty. So we just simply type that in. I'm not the world's most rapid typist. So this crop variety, I've chosen to use that as the plant family. And once you've entered a plant family, you can just type and it'll come back. So this is a nightshade, so I'd already entered that, so it came up as a selection. I want to germinate this in spring in a greenhouse to start with. The next thing I want to do is add information relating to this planting as much as I've been able to gather, and this is doing research on the internet. This came from the people who we bought the seeds from, in actual fact, which I'll add shortly. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it into this description. So once again, anybody that comes in to do a seeding on this plant or wants to find any information, it'll be retained with eggplant Black Beauty. I do want to monitor this going forward, which will give me added capabilities of gathering information from it, sort of subgrouping it. Now the group membership, I got this mistaken at first. I thought it was plant family, but it's actually, what I realise is much more powerful is if I just choose what this thing is overall, which is a food, it's an edible. So in other words, we've got entries in here for edibles, medicinals. Sometimes those things can exist in both places, but this gives us, so I'll be able to, once this is up and going, well, it is up and going, I just haven't distributed it yet, then I'll be able to look for everything in here that's edible. So I'm now going to save it. That's all the information I need here, because I've selected the group. If the group didn't exist, you'd enter it in this box here. So I'm going to save that. So now we've saved, as it says here, asset saved, eggplant Black Beauty, and just what goes into the logs. And a log which is what we're going to go to next, is what everything that goes into Perma-Ledger or FarmOS goes into one of these logs, or it's you enter it into one of these logs. So logs, you can do two things with logs. You can read what's in there and search for things, or you can add things. And in this case, we're going to add a seeding into the seeding log. Okay, so here it says seedings. So let us see. Okay, so this is all the seedings that I've put in here so far. You know, you can see this is my user entity, by the way. So, you know, if somebody else were entering this, then their user entity would appear here. Having said that, you can change the assignments at any time. It's a fairly powerful program. So I'm gonna add a seeding. Okay, so the first thing that pops up at the top of this log seeding here is the date and the month, and it always comes up date, month, time. It always comes up to what it is at the moment, which is exactly what's shown here. So I want to move this to early April. So I'm going to move it to April 3rd, which is fine. This hour is arbitrary. I usually like to set it before noon on any particular day. I'm going to leave it as it is in this case. I like to set it before noon on any particular day, so that it pops up early in the morning, because you get reminders. I'll show you that in a minute. When you added the seeding and it's ready to be, you know, it's April 3rd, which it isn't at the moment, of course, it's March 3rd. Then it'll pop up on the dashboard, and I'll show you that in a minute. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find that eggplant Black Beauty that I've just added, and these are in alphabetical order. So I know this is going to be somewhere towards the end. So I'm going to look at the fourth screen. And there it is, eggplant Black Beauty. So all I do here is I select it. And you can do multiple selections here. I haven't found the need to do that yet, but who knows going forward whether that will be the case. So then I'm going to go submit. So what we've done here, just before I do it, we've added a, you know, we've selected a planting. And remember that eggplant Black Beauty, there's only one instance of that in the system, and there only needs to be one, because we can select it multiple times, and I'll show you another feature of that shortly. So I'm going to go submit, and so we've now selected the eggplant Black Beauty. I put in here where we got it from, which is Burpee. That's the seed supplier. Any notes any additional notes? I haven't needed to do that yet, but I'm guessing when I do the actual seeding itself, I can add, which will be April 3rd, I can add notes there. So just select monitor again, because I want to monitor, you know, progress on this item, and that's all we need to do at this point. We don't need to mark this log as done. What that will happen when I actually do so at the moment all we're doing is we're setting this to be done in the future. We haven't done it yet. When we've done it, we'll come in here and we'll just click that, and that will show us that this has been done. So at the moment I'm just going to save this seeding, and it tells me log saved seed eggplant Black Beauty. Okay, and that's this particular screen here comes up in reverse date order. So you'll see on the third column here, date. These are in reverse date order, and any of this can be edited at any time, or you know, because sometimes I've made mistakes. But if we look here, it should be in here somewhere. Let's go down. Yeah, so there we are, April 3rd, 2019. Seed eggplant Black Beauty. So that's gonna turn up. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show here too. Let's just go into that. That's a particular example. Where are we? We're almost there. Okay, here. So in each of these screens there's other options, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to go edit. Down this side here, this is general. This is where we were editing. We were adding things in. Location. It's not anywhere yet. It's in a packet. You can't see it, but it's in a packet on my desk here. A packet of seeds. But when we come to actually wanting to move it into a greenhouse somewhere, which we will in this case, we go to location, and we click on this drop down here which says movement, and then in here we get all the different areas, which is subject to a previous video that we've added. So to go through a sequence here, what we might do with this one is we might go to Earth Temple, which is one of our farms here, and add this to the geodesic greenhouse there when we actually put the seeds in a tray in the greenhouse. So that's an example of taking a seed that we've entered and actually putting it in somewhere else. And the logical sequence would be from the seed packet to a tray with planting soil, into a greenhouse. From the greenhouse it may be transplanted if it gets too big before it's ready to plant in the soil, so we may transplant it into another pot, and then eventually we'll transplant it into the ground. And then the logical end point of all this, of course, is that we'll end up with a harvest, and at the time of the harvest we'll retain some of the harvest and save the seed from it. So that's the logical progression of of seeds. So I just want to state that again. A planting is a single event. It's a single crop, plant, food, crop, whatever we want to call it. In this case, eggplant, Black Beauty. But we can, from now on, add multiple seedings to this. So let's say that I wanted to put some in a greenhouse here, and I wanted to put some in a greenhouse somewhere else, and a greenhouse somewhere else. We would have 3 seeding events for that. I hope that makes sense. So we'd have seed, eggplant, Black Beauty 3 times, or however many times it might be. So I'm just going to go back to the dashboard here, and we haven't hooked up Google Maps API yet because we're not certain whether we want to use Google Maps, so that's why that message comes up. But you can see here that if I go down the screen a little, we're already a bit behind because we had a pretty severe weather event here which dumped a load of snow on us and kept us really hemmed in for the best part of a week. So these should have been done already, and as it said here, late tasks. So these all need to be basically put into trays and into a greenhouse, which we'll do in the next week, and then we'll catch up. So these come up as a reminder when you come into the dashboard of what should have been done if you're late with stuff. What I will be doing, I haven't got to it yet, is putting this into an area where, or a section where we can send out text messages to people. We think that's more powerful than emails, but that's a little bit down the road and the subject of another screencast. So I hope this has been illuminative for you, and I'm going to put this up on YouTube eventually. All right. So that's adding plantings and seedings in Perma-Ledger. Thank you for taking the patience to watch this.